it's 115 students from around the globe sitting here in this room. 60% of you are international. There are 33 nations represented in this room. And those kind of mix of cultures create this very exhilarating, fascinating environment, but also very, very, very challenging for all of you. And I'm going to discuss about the personal, social, and academic aspects of being an international student here, starting with the personal. So I came from Israel 2.5 years ago to start this dual degree in journalism and business. And back home, I was a journalist, a senior editor in the second largest newspaper. And when I came here sitting in your seats, just like in a different building, I remember that I was like in this state of mind that is called shock. Now, I was in a total and complete shock. I was sitting right here, and I knew my name, I knew where I live, I knew what I have to do today and tomorrow, but everything was like kind of foggy. I was like walking in a cloud. I couldn't see it. It didn't feel like my life. Now, in retrospect, I realized that this is called culture shock. And while culture shock is experienced differently by different kinds of people, some things are still common, like sadness and loneliness and frustration and anxiety, and I had trouble concentrating at the beginning. And if that's not enough, I was also feeling left out and misunderstood, and eventually I started to really hate Americans. For a good couple of months, I really hated Americans. And during that month, I was like, I couldn't deal with American students. I couldn't deal with domestic students. I was seeking the company of Israeli students because they were the ones I could relate to. They were the ones I could understand. And eventually I developed like this extreme homesickness. I really, really wanted to go back home to mommy. It felt like this entire experience was a mistake. Now, I wasn't alone. 38% of the international students who are now on their second year say that they encounter symptoms of culture shock. Now, we asked this question after a year of school. So, in my opinion, this figure is at least double because people tend to undermine their difficulties as time goes by, especially people with big egos like us, right? So I'm sure there are like some international students sitting here in the crowd and that didn't attend international orientation saying, culture shock? Me? No way. I just arrived on Sunday, and I'm completely in love with everything. And that might be true, maybe because those people are in phase 1 of culture shock, which is called the honeymoon. I came to the US, and during the first weeks, I was in love with everything that I've seen. Everything. I mean, seriously, take a look at that. The view from the Empire State. Pretty nice, huh? Impressive. Or Central Park, love is in the air. Or my favorite place, the Brooklyn Bridge. Kind of a nice bridge, huh? So that was the honeymoon. I came to the US, I worked for years on my application. There was nothing more that I wanted than to come here and sit here at Columbia Business School. And when I was seeing like all the skyscrapers and walking like in Central Park and everything, and the city is beautiful, I felt that like I've made it. I'm in the center of the world. It was a great feeling. But every good thing must come to an end. And when the honeymoon is over, starts phase 2, which is the what am I doing here phase. And during that phase, me and Miss America kind of had a big fight. And when I was walking down the streets, I wasn't in love anymore. I was actually feeling like this guy. This Israeli Borat. Everything became so hard. The hardest part for me was that I couldn't speak. I didn't have the vocabulary. And back in Israel, when I was a journalist, I was making a living out of words. And coming here, I lost my biggest skill, the ability to express myself the way I wanted. And when you cannot express yourself the way you want, you cannot sound smart, you cannot sound intelligent, you cannot sound funny, you cannot sound anything. But that was kind of the big thing. There were lots of little things that were kind of annoying. For example, the subway. What is uptown? What is downtown? How do you read a subway map? So many times I found myself in the wrong station, sometimes in the wrong borough, more than once. dumb things like grocery shopping. You know, I couldn't find the food that I like. And when I finally did, it tasted really, really bad. Measurement, I mean, who invented the inches, right? And how heavy is 1 pound? And 30 degrees Fahrenheit, is it really hot or really cold, right? Coins. I mean, what is the dime, what is the nickel, what is the penny? And how come that the dime is smaller than the nickel? And how come they don't have numbers on them, right? It's the only country in the world that has no numbers on the coins. But what bothered me above everything, beyond comparison, was the Americans. The Americans, not the president. I found the Americans to be so positive all the time. Always happy, even if they had no reason to be. You know? I felt this kind of plastic that I could not communicate with them because I would not getting like the real answer from them. So, for example, if you go to the second-year students here at Columbia and you would ask them, how was your summer internship? Seriously, do it. Everybody would tell you, I had an amazing summer internship, even if they really hated it. And so many times people said to me, hey, Dan, let's have lunch sometime. And I would never hear again. Ever. Which eventually led me to the conclusion that all Americans are fake. And when I thought that all Americans are fake, there was like kind of this halo effect. I was also sure that they are distant and insincere and hypocritical and superficial because they are fake. And if they're superficial and distant and insincere, they're probably artificial and overly programmed and flexible and naive and loud, you know? Bad taste in clothing, which is true. Now, you are laughing now, but for me, that period of time was very, very bad. I really, really wanted to go home. This entire experience looked like a mistake. You know, one of the strongest memories that I have from that period of time is that I lie in my bed just before going to sleep. And suddenly I feel the bed kind of shaking. And then kind of floats in the air and leaves my room through the open window and then flies east, crossing the ocean, crossing the Mediterranean, and lands in my old apartment in Tel Aviv. Now, that was a sweet dream. Now, around that time, you can see those little groups forming here at Columbia. The Mexicans with the Mexicans, the French with the French, the Dutch with the Dutch. And it doesn't really make culture shock disappear faster.